their own cooperage. So they build their own barrels inside their own facility and for all their products. But that gives them a lot of leeway to play with different barrels and whatnot. With their investment in the cooperage, they also have a rack house, which is how they age their bourbon. And their bourbon, the rack house is very unique because it actually is temperature controlled, and it's a huge like warehouse. And they simulate the temperatures to make it hotter. It actually expands the pores in the wood, and the juice goes into it. And then when they make it cooler, the holes contract and it shoots the juice back into the tank itself. And that's how the aging process is manipulated a little bit, but gives you the great flavor that you're working with and tasting in the glass. The longer you age something, generally the smoother it gets and the more characteristics from the barrel it takes. But they did a great job with that, and they have a couple different series where they choose different parts of like the cooperage or the rack house, and they have my little like higher end tiers, which we'll go over in a little bit. So the different tiers that they have actually is their regular distiller select. They make a rye, a double oak, and a wheat, and a malt. And then for their high tier is a master's collection. And they all
just released something from Eater Brothers, didn't you, this week or last week?
What's up?
Did you just release something new from them this week?
Yeah, it was their wheat and their malt.
Okay.
Came to us actually in Connecticut. So it's like small batch with the wheat focus on their build as opposed to the corn. So it changes the flavor profile, and then they have a malt one as well that gives you a little, I feel like, a little bit more of a hoppy taste to it, which is good. It's different. I haven't had a chance to try too many bottles, but the one I did was delicious. The distillery itself has a lot of history to it. It was Woodford Reserve, as we know it, is a company that came out in 1996 after the Brown-Forman company bought it in 1993. But the distillery itself started in 1780. And that was originally one of the Dr. Pepper's original distillery. And he was one of the guys that was really getting behind the Bottled in Bond Act, because he was frustrated with a lot of, like you had to sell bourbon out of a barrel. And then a lot of times it was get diluted and you weren't sure what you were getting. And he was one of the ones that like kind of took forth and pushed for legislation to kind of get things bottled. And then that's why every single bottle now is sealed and you can make sure it's the right proof and all that. So, which is great. And he's one of the pioneers behind bourbon. But he ended up giving it to his son, who ended up having it for a little while. And they built the distillery itself in 1838. At that point, it went in that family for a couple of years and ended up selling it to the Brown-Forman company. Brown-Forman ended up selling it off, I believe, in the 70s, and then they ended up buying it back in the 90s. So it was swapping hands a lot, but ended up back home with these guys, and they invested about $15 million into the renovation of the building, brand new equipment, everything else along the works, and then ended up being a great return 20 years later. Yeah. That being said, they're one of the cornerstones and part of the Bourbon Trail. So if you go down to Kentucky, definitely take a look at the distillery. It's beautiful. If you see pictures, they take you right through it, and it's great. They actually have a nice little claim to fame that every single year with the Kentucky Derby, they're the official sponsor. So that being said, Kentucky's known for its bourbon, and they're the ones that sponsor it every year. So it's a nice staple for them, and they really get behind it. Something cool about that, though, is they have $1,000 mules. So a Moscow mule that uses the high-end Woodford. And they always find a way to make it extravagant. And they go to Tiffany's, the jeweler, and they have them design these beautiful silver cups. And I know one year they used the water for the mint julep that made the ice was collected from a rainforest in Tanzania that never touched the ground. They collected it from the petals on the trees, and they froze it before it ever had a chance. So they do some crazy stuff to make it over the top. I like it. Keep sipping.
Yeah, no, I think one of the attractiveness to the bourbon is it's just nice and smooth. It's got great character to it. It appeals to a vast majority of people. And again, and you go from there. You figure out what you like and what you. It's like anything else, when we talk about tequila, Sotol, even when we talk about wine, it's taking something like this, which is made very detailed, with a lot of detail rather. And then you go from there, understand what you like, what you don't like about it, and you go to somebody like Andrey and say, hey, I like the Woodford, but I want a little more of this, a little less of that. And somebody like him, who's fantastic in his profession, steers us on that course. Say, yeah, I got something else for you. Try this instead. Within the same family or out of this family, out of the Brown-Forman family, because they have a lot of different bourbons in their stable, do they not?
Yeah, no, they do got a couple, and then even with their like old barrels, like Jack Daniels, they reuse the barrels and they use them for like double barreling of their tequila, and so they whole bunch of family, like whole bunch of brands under the family. So
Yeah.
even got some wines in there too.
Yeah, no, they got everything. So with
And,
that, you want to get into the cocktails for tonight? What cocktails are we going to be creating tonight? What are we
all
going to
right,
be
so
learning about?
we got 4 great cocktails for you guys. We got an old fashioned, nice bourbon Manhattan, twist on a Boulevardier, which usually uses Aperol. Sorry, uses Campari, but we're using Aperol instead, so it's gonna be a little bit sweeter on that end. And then Bourbon Sour, which I know someone already started, but like you said, the egg white adds a little bit of a frothy texture to the top. So if you're not a real fan to it, we can leave that out, but no big deal.
Yeah, you see a lot of recipes, a lot of recipes using egg whites. And, I think a few years ago, people were a little cautious about that, but you're seeing more and more people get into that. And
And it's all along the lines with like the craft cocktails. Like if you're trying to step it up, it adds a level of texture that you can't really get otherwise. I mean, you can always like powdered egg whites too if you don't really want to work with them. And you can get them in like a small bottle, and it froths up your drinks. So you don't have to deal with like the texture of having to do that. It's faster.
Okay.
But yeah, without further ado, let's start off with a nice old fashioned. I'm gonna tilt the camera down. If you guys have any questions, you can put it in the comments. If I'm going too fast, definitely can slow it down or pause.
Yeah. Again, try to follow along. The recipes are up on our website when you signed in or when you registered for the class. So you can print them off there. I'll leave it up there for a while. Again, I'll bounce it over to the regular page when we post the replay of this. Andre moves at a good pace, but try to keep up, pay attention to what he's doing. If you have any questions, drop them into the chat room box. I'll try to narrate as he goes along.
All right. All right, so the first thing, the 3 ingredients you're pretty much going to be using is your Woodford Reserve. You got your Woodford Reserve bitters, which are aged in bourbon barrels, so it gives them a nice little complementary flavor to that. And then I like to use some agave for mine, but you can use simple syrup, whichever one works for you. All right, first step is we're going to we just want to get some ice, and then we're going to drop in 2 ounces of Woodford Reserve.
See, everybody wants to go to the restaurants, but I mean, you got a bartender right here. He's making the cocktail for you. Try to keep up. Tip yourself before you go tonight. Make sure you tip your bartender really well tonight.
Yeah, just get a jar and just start throwing dollars in there for every.
That's it. We're gonna put up Andre's Venmo thing. We're gonna just tip him tonight.
And then after that, you want to grab your bitters. You can use these. These are great. They definitely complement the Woodford itself, and that's what they're made for. You can use Angostura, whatever you got at home. I would say like 1 or 2 drops, nothing crazy. They're very potent. And then you're gonna want to drop in a very small amount. I like to use the bar spoon or a little teaspoon. I would say about half a teaspoon because it's already sweet enough. And then just drop the sucker in, and then you want to stir it. I would say about like 15-20 seconds. All right. So we're doing an old fashioned. I like to pour them in nice fancy rocks glasses. I have a couple ice cube molds that are spheres.
Oh, beautiful.
Crack that bad boy.
Oh, you really brought your game. Look at that.
Actually, it cracked. It still had some water in there. But fun fact, if you freeze these guys for about 3 hours and you take them out, it should still be hollow on the inside, and you can actually fill it and seal it up again. And you have a cocktail to go on a little frost ball. That's all right. So you just want to scoop some fresh ice into your glass. You want to use your strainer. Strain it right in. And then at this point, we're going to grab our peeler and an orange. I'm going to get a pretty solid size peel, a couple inches will do it. There you go.
Nice.
And then you grab the outside of the peel, and you just spritz it right into the glass. You
Right.
don't want to rub it around because it's actually pretty bitter afterwards. And you just drop it right in.
Right. Just get that mist in there.
Yeah, exactly. You want to release the essential oils right on the
Cheers, everybody. Try yours. Post in the comments. What do you think about this? Yep. Gary needs another one. Sam, make him another one. Yeah, no, great job, guys. What does everybody think of that? Thumbs up, thumbs up. People are still making it, or people are going to make a second one, it looks like.
There you go.
Hey, you're your own bartender. Make as many as you want tonight.
That's it. You got enough. You're gonna have extra after. If you got the pints, you're definitely gonna have a couple ounces extra. If you got a bigger bottle, then you're good to go for a while.
Yeah, good. And again, with the agave, you're adding more sweetness to it. Is that what you were saying?
So the typical recipe calls for simple syrup.
Hmm?
I like to use agave in general because it is lower on the glycemic index in terms of sweeteners. And I just have it around the house from the last class, and it's definitely something that complements most things. And it's easy; you don't have to make up the syrup, and it's ready to go in a squeeze bottle.
No, right. That's a good point. I get a lot of people looking for instant, jarred simple syrup, and I like the flavor of agave. I think it adds another element to any cocktail.
Yeah, no, it definitely does. It opens it up a little bit more. It's not your typical sugar or like the simple syrup. It makes it a little different. And then in response to Aaron M, I usually don't add a cherry, just because if you look up the traditional old-fashioned recipe, the original, it doesn't call for any muddled fruit in there, which I know some people throw oranges and cherries in there. It kind of takes away from the bourbon, which when you're using like Woodford Reserve or a nice bourbon, you really want to taste them and just add a couple little subtleties to enhance the flavor, like the bitters, a little bit of agave, and then just like the orange itself to express the essential oils.
Yeah, I think especially with a lot of mixologists, they take what's traditional and then they put their own spin on it.
Yeah, and a lot of people try to do that, which is it's always fun. Like you don't want to have the same cocktail a million times,
Right. Now you used to be the bar manager at where? Geronimo's, correct?
Yeah, I used to was the GM over at Geronimo in Fairfield, so we did a lot of cocktails over there. Cranked out a lot of tequila, a lot of margaritas. We definitely had a couple old fashions on the menu though, so we knew our way on some bourbon and whiskey.
Again, just like you're saying, take a classic cocktail like the old fashioned, and you go to 5 different places. Just pick downtown New Haven. You go to 5 different places. Somebody that really knows how to mix a cocktail, like Andrey, and they put their own little spin on it, whatever that little ingredient is, to make it their own. And you could go to these 5 different places and try all of them, and they're all really good. I have a thing with what do you call it? Forgetting the name of the cocktail with the gin, but the guy at August makes it really good over at Hudson Leroy. He makes it really good. A Negroni, whatever he does, he really doesn't get into his recipe, but he follows that standard traditional model, cocktail recipe, and then he puts a little twist on it to make it his own, and it's phenomenal.
Yeah, that's just like the Boulevardier we're gonna do in a little bit. It's a typical cocktail with a nice little twist, and it's usually like sometimes it can be bad, but most of the time it's good. It just changes up the elements a little bit, and it's like you're tasting a new cocktail for the first time.
Excellent.
Yeah. All right. So for the next one that we're going to go into, I would say is the Bourbon Manhattan. So first step, you're going to see everyone do at a bar. Let me tilt this down. First step is you're going to see almost everyone put a couple ice cubes in your glass because it is a form of martini, so everyone knows you want to chill your glasses. We're going to set that aside for a second.
How essential is the glassware to this?
What's that? I'm sorry?
How essential is specific glassware to each cocktail? I mean, you're going with a martini glass.
I would like if you're at home, not a big deal. Just if you're at a restaurant, if you order it, they'll always ask you if you want it on the rocks. I prefer mine up just because I don't want it. I appreciate my bourbon or my whiskey, whatever I'm putting in there. So I like to have it as least amount of dilution as possible.
Okay.
So we go from that guy. We're going to be using some Woodford Reserve, some Carpano Antica. And then we're going to be using a little bit of our Woodford bitters again. And then we're going to follow it up with a nice garnish of our Lazzaroni cherries. All right. So we're going to do 2 ounces of this bad boy. And I mean, I like to, like me and my friends always joke around, but we say like, you never shake the brown, you always stir it.
Okay.
That's like a rule I like to live by. Don't want to dilute it and kind of take away of what they worked hard to make.
Yeah. Yeah.
For that, we're going to do 1 ounce of our Carpano. Carpano is an excellent sweet vermouth. It's definitely on the higher end in terms of like premium vermouth, because you can get a regular vermouth pretty much anywhere, but it really makes a difference in most of your cocktails if you use this guy.
If you've never tried Carpano on the rocks, it's just a fantastic after dinner drink. If I see it on the bar wherever we go out, my girlfriend and I, I'll order that as an after dinner cocktail. It settles, it relaxes you without getting super crazy.
Yeah, I mean, same thing. Like you can do that as an aperitif, or like Aperol, which we're going to be tasting like a digestivo and aperitif, and you're good to go. We're going to follow up with 2 or 3 little squirts of bitters. You're good to go. Then we're just going to stir this guy, same as the other. It's about 20, 30 seconds as well. And I would say like the reason is we're stirring instead of shaking, because when you shake, you chill it very fast. And so the ice melts super quickly, and then you end up getting a lot of dilution. When you stir it, the process is not as fast, so you do chill the drink. You don't lose as much of the flavor. So at that point, should be looking pretty good.
Matt's got a question. Are you using orange or cherry bitters? Can you interchange these with this recipe?
You can use cherry bitters. It'll definitely be delicious because there's like a cherry, like they have cherry. They also make a chocolate bitters, the Woodford themselves. So it's definitely complementary flavor profiles, and you're good to go on those guys. All right, and then you want to just dump your ice that you had in the cup chilling, so your glass should be nice and cold. And then from there, we're just gonna pour this bad boy out.
Beautiful.
So I got a pretty big martini glass, but generally like you can do it in a smaller coupe as well, whichever one you want. Coupe glass, martini glass, regular rocks glass, doesn't matter. And you pop in one of these bad boys. Even the juice on these guys is delicious as well.
No, the juice is fantastic. Like I was talking prior. If we have excess juice, it either goes over ice cream, or I've done glazes for like pork loin. And it's just fantastic. Cheers! Drink up, everybody. Try it. What do you think?
Yeah, cheers. So a lot of the cocktails tonight are a little boozy. Like the first 2 are definitely like booze heavy. The next 2 are going to be working in some juices, and it's a little lighter on that end. But definitely, the first 2 are made to just work in itself and bring out the flavor so you can enjoy it.
Yeah. Again, when you go into like cocktails like this, it's important to try each element of the cocktail. So try the Aperol on its own. Try the bitters on its own. It may not be the most pleasant thing you want to put in your mouth without any accompaniment to it, but try it. See what those flavors are and get your mind going. Try the Carpano. I love drinking like aged vermouths like Carpano. I love them. I love the flavor profile of them. And really understand what flavor components you're mixing together. It's just like any good chef. Any mixologist is just a really good chef putting flavors together.
Yeah, we're literally just working with liquid ingredients, and that's the only difference. Just switching it around.
Right. Yeah. Somebody saying this is their go-to.
There we go. Ed S. He likes his Manhattans. I appreciate it.
Good.
Like old Manhattans and old fashions are definitely my top 2 cocktails when I go out. Followed up, like a good espresso martini. Like Downtown Olives and Oil makes an excellent espresso martini.
Where's that?
Olives and Oil?
Oh, Olives and Oil. Yeah.
They make an awesome one over there.
That's one of my friends on social media. He's a big I never knew there was such a thing as espresso martini fanatic, but he has to have one everywhere he goes, and he tries them all. Olive and Oils is one of his top places. Shere Khan's the other one. They love them there.
Yeah, no, those 2 places are awesome. Great for cocktails if you're ever in downtown New Haven. Like, definitely check them out.
Yeah.
So it's worth it.
Excellent. What does everybody think of that cocktail? I get a few responses in the chat room. Yeah. Cheers, everybody.
Pure happiness. I'm about it.
Yeah. Glasses are up. Good. There you go. Very good. All look great too. Everybody's doing a great job.
All right. So with that, we can definitely get cranking on to our next bad boy.
What's next on our list tonight?
Let me tilt this down. All right, so for the next one, we're going to be doing the Boulevardier twist. So we're back with our Woodford. We're doing some Carpano, and we're going to work in our Aperol, which is like another aperitif. It's very similar to Campari. I would say it's more orange and tangerine and on the sweeter side, not as bitter as its counterpart, Campari. Like if you like Negronis, it's definitely going to be on the sweeter spectrum, and you'll understand like the minute you taste it. But definitely crack it open, give it a smell, like Chris said. Like taste the components, try them out. Together they make something excellent, but by themselves they're also standalone. Yeah, that's awesome. All right. Okay.
Yeah, Aperol on its own, again, just just understand what the flavor components are, but I don't know many people that drink this straight on the rocks or any other way.
Yeah, I mean, if you have Aperol and you have Prosecco at home, I definitely recommend like doing a nice Aperol spritz.
Right.
Aperol, some Prosecco, top it up with a little club soda. It's like nice and refreshing, great for the summer if you're hanging out outside. Way to go.
So last summer, I think it was the New York Times, somebody put out an article about the Aperol spritz, and all hell broke loose. I mean, we've never sold so much Aperol, and I worked at some big stores, and we never sold that much Aperol. As soon as that article hit, everybody was drinking Aperol spritz, and every bar, restaurant downtown was making Aperol spritz a feature on their cocktail menu. It's kind of funny the way things influence everything.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure in a couple, like, next month or a couple months, hopefully after Wednesday, things will start popping up. You'll still see them on the menus. It's a seasonal thing. They never go away.
Right.
All right, so this guy's a little twist, like I said, on a Boulevardier, which is a typical drink that uses, instead of the Aperol, Campari. It's going to be a little bit sweeter if you've had one in the past. We're going to start up with our 1 ounce of Woodford Reserve. We're going to go with a nice little 3/4 ounce of sweet vermouth.
Yeah, spritzes are big in Europe.
Yeah, no, that's for sure.
Yeah.
We're going to do the same thing, 3/4 ounces of Aperol. And same thing, we're just going at it, giving it a nice little spin around. This guy, because it's got the mixed ingredients, I usually don't pour over fresh ice, and I usually go right there. We got rocks glass. And back up with a nice little orange twist. Ooh, hold on, my peeler just broke.
Ah.
All right, we're back in business. It popped back in.
That's Murphy's Law. Anything that can happen will happen. But on the fly, you make it work.
Yeah, that's it. All right, I got a little one, nothing crazy, but get it out. I got another one over here. We'll get it out. So it looks very similar to the old fashioned.
Right.
But with the other components that we tossed into it, it does give it a little bit more complexity and changes it up a fair amount.
Huh.
Cheers, guys. Let me know what you think. I would say pour versus strain, because this one already has a couple different ingredients already mixed in, as opposed to the other one, which was like pretty simple, like bourbon bitters and then like a sweetener. This one has two or three different spirits already, so you're good to go. You can shake it if you want. I just, like I said, I don't really like to shake too much, just to keep it as least dilution as possible.
Wow. How's everybody like that one? Thumbs up? Yeah. Nancy's got big thumbs up behind her. Yeah. Everybody looks
Yeah,
like
it's definitely like a little sweeter than your old fashioned. The Aperol plays a big part in that. Kind of just rounds it out, a little bit smoother all along. Awesome. Glad you like it.
yeah, just a different twist on everything.
Yeah, that's good.
Again, I'm just drinking everything straight. Somebody asked me earlier, how come you're not mixing? I'm trying to keep my composure through this whole thing, but I'm just
You gotta filter through the questions. You gotta keep me in the loop, you know.
Yeah, but I'm just enjoying the bourbon on its own. Again, you warm up to it, then you start getting creative with it and seeing what else you could do with it. But and just like Andre, I mean, some people put the ice in it. I thought the ice really muted the flavor on it. I did try it on the rocks, but now that I have nothing left, just drinking it straight, you get more of that flavor profile on it.
Yeah, you get a lot of oaky. It's definitely like very grainy. A lot of wood to it. And that's all the 7 years that it spends like sitting and maturing.
Yeah.
Which is great. I mean, I like a good oaky bourbon. Some people don't. So then you want to go for something that's a little less aged. Regular bourbon as opposed to like a straight, which is only sits a couple months in the barrel.
Okay. Yeah, nice. I'm not getting a ton of sweetness out of it. That's
awesome.
I mean, you get that cinnamon on that. You do get that vanilla oak on it, but a lot of black pepper, a lot of spice on this.
I get a little bit like dark chocolate notes. It's very complex. Like it's all over the board, and that's what they say. Like it's a nice boutique bourbon that kind of encapsulates a lot of different flavors. Where like you have the first sip, you taste something. You have the second one, it changes a little bit. You go for the third, and you're like, wow, I'm tasting something different every time, but it's still delicious and smooth.
Yeah. I think that's the appeal to something like this. Again, even though we use the term mass marketed or whatever you want to call it, it still has that complexity to it. It's got a huge range of flavors. And again, that's appealing about this. It's not so much textbook. Again, when you're talking about wine and when wine is mass marketed, I think they try to formulate it to appease a broad audience, which I could see where this is going, but I think there's a lot more involved in this than some other brands in this price range.
No, yeah, I mean they do a great job. They market it real well, and it's something it's been around for a good 20 years. Where it's not like the longest brand that's been around, but it's definitely got good movement, and it's always had like good publicity behind it, and it's always been like well respected in the bourbon community. So it's definitely something that's picked up momentum over time and not lost it.
Right, and that's the biggest thing you just said. It's respected in the bourbon community. And again, when you go out there, some of these bourbon centric bars out there where that's the main focus. Again, it's like wine snobs, beer snobs. You get bourbon snobs out there, and if there's nothing good on the menu and they see Woodford, they're going right for it. Because it's trustworthy. They know what they're getting time and time again, and it appeases a broad range of palates, and it's respectable to drink.
Yeah, I mean it's won like gold medals at like tasting competitions already. It's got like 20 something accolades under its belt. It's been through the ringer. It's great stuff. They do a good job with it. And it's like you said, it's great by itself, or you can do some pretty like cool, interesting things with the cocktails and like spice it up a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it tastes like a Negroni. You can change it around. Like most people don't like think of Woodford, but you like mix it in a cocktail. Trust me, you're not gonna be disappointed.
Yeah. Yeah. Excellent.
All right, guys. So for the last one, we got the Bourbon Sour in front of us. This one is a little bit more complex. I didn't squeeze any lemon juice. So I'm going to use a half a lemon, which they say about a half a lemon, you get about an ounce or a half ounce or a quarter ounce in there. So we'll play with that bad boy. All right. So I'm going to use.
I mean, there's nothing like fresh lemon juice, fresh lime juice, but you got to start the day just squeezing just fruit all day. We have people that request fresh lime juice, and it's like, how tough that is and how expensive that is to get real fresh lime juice or lemon juice. But it makes a difference. Makes a big difference.
100% fresh ingredients over like the pre-batch stuff makes a world of difference.
Yep.
Night and day, I would say. All right, so one with Woodford, a little bit of agave or simple syrup. You're gonna do lemon juice, and then this is the recipe that called. I literally just cracked an egg open, used like a squirt bottle, and I took out the center. You just want to use that. You're gonna use about half of that anyways. And then we're gonna garnish it with like a cherry and then an orange, which we can cut up from the orange you've been peeling if you're going along with us at that point. All right. So we're gonna do 2 ounces of Woodford Reserve. Do a ½ ounce syrup. Slice of mellow lemon. And then we're going to toss in our egg whites about halfway through. And then we're going to grab our shaker. Give this guy a nice shake.
I'm always fascinated with the shakers. Everybody has their own technique. Everybody has their own like timing, how long the duration they shake it with.
I will say the thing about this one, so I have to reshake. You got to shake it pretty hard. The whole egg yolk thing, someone said before in the comments, it creates a froth. So if you want to get a nice layer of froth and a velvety texture, you're gonna have to shake it hard. If not, then you can lighten it off a little bit. You're not gonna have too much foam. There we go. That's a little better. And at that point, you just pour.
Wow. Garnish with the cherries.
Yeah, do a cherry and then like an orange wedge.
Oh, okay. Going right for the wedge.
Yeah, it's the same one we've been using. I've been doing for the peels, and I just go for a wedge. You can either slice it. So if you cut your wedge, right, you got it. You can either do like a nice little angular slit, and you can stick it on the side. You can just dump it right in. Well, cheers, guys.
Everybody hold up their cocktail. Let's see them. Let's see the froth on them.
Yeah, you should have a nice like half-inch layer of froth. If you had the cherries, you're gonna see some of the juice floating on.
Nice, everybody. Good job. Yeah, I gotta try this at. Well, I gotta try it at your bar at some time.
Come down, we'll have one. It'll be good.
What's that?
We'll go to one of my accounts. Yeah, we'll have a couple drinks. It'll be great.
Oh, you're next door. You're gonna be next door at my. And
oh yeah, for sure. I'll pop right in when I'm around there. We'll pop over. I'll hop on the bar. We'll make a couple drinks.
I'm sure Sonny's got egg whites ready to roll.
As long as you got eggs, we're good.
That's it. You're all set. Absolutely.
We're set.
Yeah. Excellent.
This one's definitely along the lines of like a little bit more refreshing, nice, easy drinking. Not as heavy as the last couple of cocktails that we've gone. Definitely something nicer to finish up the night on. And you can always touch bases on a little heavier things if you want to really keep going in there. Cheers, guys. Yeah, I see a clink in the glasses back there.
Yeah. Very nice. Oh, even in the wine glass looks good.
Yeah, nice like layer of froth on that. That was good.
Yeah. Yep. Now, don't mix this up when you're making an omelet tomorrow morning.
I mean, you can use your leftover egg whites and just crank it in right now. If you're making some eggs for dinner, who knows? Like, just put it in there.
Make them for dinner. Make them for
if you're breading some chicken later, like, I mean, it's a little late for dinner, but, just, there you go.
Excellent.
What's everybody think? Everybody like it? Favorite cocktail of the night so far?
Yeah, in the chat room, drop down what your favorite cocktail out of the 4 from tonight was. Yeah, I got thumbs up from Matt and Melissa. Yeah, Manhattan, another one for the Manhattan. It's one of those classic things, especially with that little twist.
Can't go wrong with those classic cocktails. I mean, they're making a comeback. Like everyone's going back to the typical cocktails, you know.
Yeah.
Sours. We got at least one of each so far.
What's that?
Said we're looking to get like one of each so far. We got the Manhattan, the Boulevardier, a sour.
Yeah. We got 2 for the Manhattan, I think. Yep. Ah. Good. You can't remember the other 3. Even better.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah. That happens. That happens during these. But you know what? That's the whole thing. They're fun. You're at home. It's safe. It's fun. Yeah, Yolanda saying the Manhattan. Yeah, even when we go out together to get a cocktail, I'll usually get a Negroni. If I get a cocktail, I'll get a Negroni. She gets a bourbon-centric cocktail, usually a Manhattan. And for me to try the different ones that she has, just to find an appreciation for it. And again, it comes down to somebody like Andrey who really knows how to craft these cocktails. We went to this one place, and again, you could testify to this, Andrey. You know, like most bartenders will say, the Negroni is one of those cocktails where it defines you as a mixologist. You either make it really good or you just flop at it.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things with the classic cocktails. If you can't make the classic cocktails right, then how can you really be trusted, you know, to make the crazy ones where you're doing your own thing? You got to like nail the staples first, and it kind of sets them.
I mean, we went to this one place, and I asked for a Negroni. I said, how's your bartender making Negroni? She said, I guess all right. That should have tipped me off. But it does come down to the ingredients you're using. But to taste, again, when it's not balanced right, and again, it goes for almost every cocktail, when the flavors aren't balanced right. That's why I'm telling people, try these different components individually so you understand them and how they can overpower each other or how they work together to create this harmonious cocktail. When I got this Negroni, it was so whacked out of balance. I mean, they probably use really, well gin and, bad vermouth, but it was so out of balance. I mean, you go through it, then you go to someplace that really knows what they're doing, and you taste it, and you taste how those flavor components all come together. It just enlightens you to say, wow, what have I been drinking all these years? And, it really brings out the flavors of all the different parts of the recipe, just like what you're doing tonight.
Yeah, no, once you have a good one, then you know where you have a lot of bad ones after that.
Oh, right. It sets the standard. I can't speak for other places just because I have a lot of experiences going downtown New Haven, and we have some of the best mixologists in the area.
Yeah, no, we have great bars down there. Like Ordinary is great for cocktails. Elm City Special. If you're ever in, go check those guys out. Chuparans, awesome cocktails. They literally will blow your mind. You go with Ordinary, they smoke the cocktails right in front of you, rip it out of a box, and you pull it right out. It's all for the visuals.
That's the whole thing now too with the smoking cocktails.
Yeah, no, you smoke cocktails. You can even get the machines at home. You get wood chips. They make Jack Daniel's wood chips even from the barrels. Yeah, you break them up and you put them in the little machine. And you just light it, and as long as you have a dome, even if a bowl, you can grab the cocktail. Literally, just put a little hole, side hole, put through the hose, and then smoke the cocktail. You let it sit for 30 seconds. You take the top off, and you've added a whole new element to the cocktail, and it's very smoky. And it changes the palate 100%. Every time you take a sip, you smell the smoke. You taste a little bit at first. Yeah, smoking box. That's awesome. Yeah, honestly, you can't go wrong with that stuff.
Yeah, I've seen somebody. They have a wood plank and they'll torch it right on the counter and then put a
glass right over.
Right, put the glass right on top of it, smoke the glass out, then pour your cocktail right in the glass.
No, yeah, that's a couple places downtown do that. But yeah, Ordinary, if you're ever in there asking for, I think it's a mezcal cocktail that they smoke as well, so it's very heavy on the smoke. It's super complex. They do a great job. And I have a couple ones that make bubble garnishes out of some crazy syrups and whatnot. So definitely do a lot with these guys.
Yeah. Suzanne said smoked old fashions down in Port Jeff. Yeah, next time we take the ferry over, we're going to let you know. We're going to try them all down there. We're going to go right through, right up to Route 25 before we head out to Vineyardland. Yeah, State Street's great. Dan at Oak Haven. I've never had his, but I know those guys are phenomenal. That and, State Street itself is another haven if you want craft cocktails. So you're looking at Oak Haven, you're looking at Hudson Leroy, and Tavern on Strait with Shane there. I don't know if that's your account. Do you do?
I do have that account. Yeah,
Yeah.
those guys are like Emily, the chef over there too. Like the food, cocktails over there. Like they have a great program. Definitely check it out. And they have like patios in the back, patio in the back, and tables out front.
Right.
Like food's phenomenal. The cocktails are put together well. Their wine menus like from all over, very eclectic. If you're looking for something like a little different and off the beaten path, like if you're looking for something great, I would definitely recommend that place. It's awesome.
So for you, when you go out, whether it's for dinner or, just out, to have a drink, what's your preference? Do you go the cocktail route or do you go the wine route? Or you know what, you just go off the charts and you just have a beer? Because sometimes that happens too.
I'm not a big beer guy. Mostly wine. It really depends on like what I'm gonna have for dinner, like where I'm going, and try to drink what best complements it. And that's always been like the thing. You want to try like you pair your food with your spirits. So like you definitely, if you're gonna start off, like one of these guys is definitely great after dinner or before when you're starting off. Especially with the Aperol and like the Carpanos, a nice digestivo or an aperitif settles the night. I feel like during dinner, like the sour is gonna go great with a lot of stuff. It's nice and sweet, light, easy drinking. But like have an espresso martini at the end of the night to finish it off, or you're having some nice some meat, a nice red dish. Definitely like pair it with wine, or you can have a cocktail if you like. But definitely like the pairing process. You want to go with a nice wine with a red, a nice. Right. Or if you're going with a fish, nice white glass of wine. But anything else, you can just go with cocktail and have fun with it.
So Nancy has a question. She likes a tobacco finish in her bourbon. What do you recommend? Something with more tobacco flavors.
Yeah, no, this is light on the tobacco.
Yeah.
I would say something that's a little heavy. I personally don't carry it, but I know like Bullet is a little bit better, like on that one, the tobacco flavor. But I mean, there's not too many that are going to really like push it. It's always like a blend of complex flavors, which they're trying to go with the bourbon. But I would say that's definitely probably the route you're looking for on that end. Old Forester is great, but not heavy on the tobacco.
Yeah.
Which other ones have it? Like Blanton's is delicious.
Yeah.
Right. Angel's Envy is awesome. Like it's definitely up there with like the top names that you're talking, especially like if it's one of the special runoff series of these guys.
Yeah.
They do real well with like the Masters Collection, or even they have the Kentucky Derby edition where they do like a special bottle, which is the distillers, but like they're collectible and like they do pretty good stuff with this stuff.
Excellent. Anybody, any other questions before Andre takes off for the night? Come on, type them into the chat room, or you can unmute your mic and ask the question direct.
Go for it.
Point now in the night where everybody's a little loose. So again, please no swearing. You can unmute your mic and ask your questions. Eagle Rare, yeah. Eagle Rare is one of those bourbons that, everybody goes after. And again, it's very good. I can remember when it first came on the scene in Connecticut 15 years ago, 16 years ago. My son's going to be 17 this year, so 16 years ago. And nobody really paid attention to it. Again, the craft cocktail, let alone the small batch bourbon scene, wasn't what it is now back then. So Eagle Rare came out, and again, at that time in the early 2000s, 2003, 2004, it was still the cosmopolitan, the martini scene. That was big. So bourbon wasn't what it is now. And again, Andre can testify to this, even vodka has taken a back seat again, and gin has come back up for clear spirits.
Gin, tequila's taking off right now, all that stuff. Like, they're flying.
It's just fun. It's funny, especially when you're in the business, to see how these trends just change year after year and what really sticks. But bourbon just has been on a roll forever right now for the longest time.
Buffalo Trace was good too. Yeah,
Buffalo Trace is phenomenal if you can find it. Eagle Rare is the same thing, and the problem in Connecticut is, it's limited and it goes to select accounts. And if you could get it, it's great. We get it once a month, and that was mainly because of the salesperson we had, and he's now gone, so there's a problem. And I tell people there's other bourbons out there. Just ask what you like and let me know what you like. And even if I'm not the most knowledgeable person on bourbon, I'm the first one to raise my hand and say, no, I'm not. Wine's my thing. But I sip and I taste, I find my way around it. But I drop a call to Andre and say, hey, this person's looking for this. What do you think? What else do you have in your stable that could accommodate somebody with this flavor profile? And that could go for any spirit, any wine, any beer. There's something for everybody. And somebody that really knows that palate, that flavor profile, they'll be able to navigate into something else. I know a salesperson, he's been out there for years, decades. And he laughs every time somebody brings up, one of these hard to find bourbons. He's like, you know what I drink that tastes the same year after year, it tastes just as good as those, and whatever it is at that point he's drinking, he's like, you find it everywhere. So again, Eagle Rare is fantastic. I love drinking Eagle Rare. If I could drink Buffalo Trace, unfortunately when it comes in, I give it right to my customers. I don't take any home for myself. So that's part of the problem with some of these limited.
Yeah, no, that stuff's pretty limited for sure. Even I hear other customers saying like they're trying to get that stuff, and it's pretty hard to get.
Zach says, "What's your thought in your industry about bourbon made outside of Kentucky?" Good question. I mean, it's coming from everywhere now.
Yeah, I mean, well, the stipulation is it has to be made within the United States, and it has to get aged in the brand new American oak or brand new white American oak barrels. That's the stipulation, and it has to, to be straight, it's got to be aged for 2 years. Anything under 4 has to have the age statement. Kentucky itself, though, is like where like a lot of history is behind it, and they make the best, most renowned, bourbons around. I mean, I'm sure that there's good, a couple good bourbons that are made outside of Kentucky, but that's definitely the heart, and it's like where it's known for. So like if it comes from Kentucky, you're most likely going to get something good. If it's out of there, it might not be like with a lot of history behind it, but it may be worth trying. Just look up the reviews, see what it's online, and what you can do at that point. I mean, there's a couple where like you'll be surprised, and I'm sure there's a couple where you'll be like, hey, it wasn't worth it. I'm gonna stick to my regular stuff, that comes right out of Kentucky. But it's definitely do your research before you buy them if you're interested in straying from the typical Kentucky path when you're looking for bourbon.
Yeah, I mean, we get one from New York. I mean, it stuff's fantastic. It's ultra expensive, but I mean, it's really good. Again, just like you said, identify your flavor profile, understand what you like about that bourbon, and go find other ones out there. Excellent. Any other questions? Yeah, wine's always in style. Yeah,
that's
easy to get for the most part. There's some limited edition wines, but not like bourbon, not like beer. For the most part. Excellent. Which one from New York? You know what? It slips my mind right now. There's one in upstate New York. There's one down in Brooklyn in an old naval yard, Taconic. There's Taconic too. There's somebody else. I'll get you the name, Matt. Widow Jane's another one.
Is it Hudson Bay?
What's that?
Hudson Bay is one I've seen from New York's upstate New York.
Yeah, no, this is another one I'm thinking of. I'll have to get you the name. Baby Hudson's another one. Yeah, keep going with the names. There's a ton of them. Heaven's Door. I've had it in store. That's the one from Bob Dylan. Have you tried it, Andre?
No, I've had the Widow Jane though. Widow Jane's great.
Yeah, okay.
It's a thing that like where you run into problems trying to get it and you get your hands on it. But once you do find it, like scoop up those bottles. Like it's always tough to find in a liquor store.
Yeah, I put in orders for it. I think I still have standing orders whether they can release it to me or not. But again, that's with a lot of different bourbons from a lot of different companies. You put in an order. It's hit or miss if you get it. They go. I don't know if you could divulge that, but I mean, they go to a lot of restaurants first and foremost. A lot of these companies want to see their brand on the back bar at some of these restaurants. No?
Yeah, I've seen it. Not necessarily like my products, because I don't have too many of the ones that you have to do that stuff for. But I would say, like in general, you'll have an easier time finding them at the bars.
Yeah.
Than as opposed to the liquor store, because like one bottle over there will last them, like 20 customers, whereas in a liquor store, one bottle lasts one person. 20 people can't try it and like kind of really like it and then look for it at the store essentially. So there's all process behind it. If they can have 20 people try it as opposed to one person, like that's spread the knowledge about it. That's kind of what they're going after.
Right.
I've been more of a whiskey guy, that especially bourbon and Irish, than a wine guy, but I'm becoming more into wine lately. But there are so many bourbons out there, and not all of them are expensive, and
no, that's for sure.
A lot of them are cheap, and they're Old Forester for one. They're good bourbons.
Right.
Yeah, Old Forester is one of the brands that continued through Prohibition. They have a bottling license for medicinal purposes. So they went straight through Prohibition and kept the brand going. And they're another Brown-Forman product. So Brown-Forman, Woodford Reserve guys, they're all tied into the family.
Yeah, no, it's one of those tried and true brands. We carry it, and it's one of those brands that it's a go-to. You see it, it's like, wow, I'll take that, and it's not super expensive.
No, yeah, super economical on Old Forester. Like this is definitely, you're looking at like your premium bourbon when you want to, enjoy something a little bit frontier, like a boutique one. It's definitely more complex than your Old Forester. Your Old Forester is a little bit more tame, but it's great.
Susan has another question. Is bourbon only from Kentucky, and are there other whiskeys from around the area?
Bourbon can be from anywhere within the United States. It's pretty loose category in that end. You just has to get, aged for, within brand new American white oak barrels, and it has to, in order to be called like straight bourbon, it has to sit for at least 2 years. Anything under that has to have the age statement, plastered right on there. It'll say bourbon, but how long it's been aged. And then so it's not considered like whiskey, but they're very similar. It's all difference on the build itself. Like the mash build is what I was talking about. Like that kind of separates the bourbon as opposed to the whiskey. And a lot of whiskey, as soon as it's distilled, goes right into the bottles, and that's real separation. And bourbon is always aged, where whiskey sometimes just goes straight out of the distillery and then it goes right into the bottle.
Litchfield Distillery in Connecticut makes bourbon. It's good.
Right. No, yeah. I mean, I've seen them around. I saw that they did like hand sanitizer when Corona was first going on too, which is cool. They're getting behind that. So I know a lot of Connecticut distilleries did that, but they do a great job.
Yeah. Somebody's got a
Litchfield glass. I see it.
Yeah. Yeah, they're one of the more notable ones. We just brought in, and we just tried it this week. We tried it last week as well, but we talked to the rep this week. Sono Distilleries out of South Norwalk.
Norwalk.
Yeah. Have you tried their stuff yet?
I have. I think they have a regular. They got an orange and then another flavor.
Well, they distill with hemp. So technically they can't call it bourbon, but they call it rye, and I forget what the bourbon's actually called. But again, it's a different flavor profile. But it's somebody that understands the distillation process. And I say this about wine, beer makers as well. You craft that. Whatever that product is, whether it's bourbon, whether it's rye, vodka, gin, you do it as textbook as you can get it, perfect it, then see where you can make improvements, and then see where you can push the boundaries of it. You see with all of our craft beer makers, they start off with a lager, they start off with an IPA. What else can we do with this thing? We've mastered this technique. What else can we do with this thing? So somebody like, I don't know them personally. I'm just, just from tasting the product. What else can we make with this? We can make bourbon, we can make rye, we can make vodka. They had a gin. What else can we do with this? And you take it further than that. I think Woodford does that too. You see with all these new special editions that they put out, and it seems like they're doing like a seasonal rotation of things too. I can remember back in the day they used to age them in Sonoma-Cutrer barrels, Pinot Noir barrels, and then issue them out once a year, twice a year. But it seems like
that's their master's collection.
Okay, that's the master's collection. Okay.
Yeah, that's the master's blend, which since Brown-Forman owns Sonoma-Cutrer, so it's like they keep all that stuff in the family, like the cooperage, all the barrels. They definitely try to use them as much as they can, and it ends up bringing a whole new level of complexity with the master's collection.
Yeah.
And like nice, like rich, like Pinot aged bourbon. Like I can only imagine how delicious that tastes.
Yeah, I had a few again when stuff like that comes in. We don't get a chance to try it. It goes right to the customer, the client. You'd hope they pour us a little sample, but you know what? Hey, if they're home, they're enjoying it. We get feedback on it. We taste and we live vicariously through our clients and our customers. And I think that goes for you as well. When you're selling wine, even though you may like that Grenache Blanc you sold me, that stuff's fantastic. I love that thing. I'm appreciative that you got it for me. But same with our customers. When we get something limited in, and they go home, they try, they give us feedback. We taste, we live vicariously through them. We're happy for them that they're enjoying it so much. Somebody saying any rye you can recommend. You could take the
if you're looking for like a premium tier rye, Woodford does make a rye. Ends up being a little more sour and a little bit more heat in the mouth, but it's delicious. If you're looking for like a regular whiskey, like it's a little bit on a lower price here, you can do the Jack Daniel's rye, which is always.
Jack rye is really good. I like that one.
That's why I said, like, if you're looking for a higher tier, Woodford. If you're looking for a regular mid, like Jack Daniel's, you can't really go wrong with it. They also do a single barrel rye, which is fantastic. So definitely, I know like Jack Daniel's. Some people like love it, some people don't, but they're trying true to like the single barrel stuff, and they do real well with like their more aged blends.
Yeah, Yeah, no, I thought they did a good job with it when we got introduced to it a couple of years ago. It was really good. And, I used to keep a bottle here and I used to make Manhattans out of that just because I like the flavor profile of it.
Yeah, no, I mean, like if you like a little bit more sour, more heat to it, definitely like go with the rye. If you like something a little bit sweeter and sour, like stick with the regular bourbon.
Oh, excellent. Great, everybody. No, thank you for all the questions. We appreciate it. But, give a round of applause for Andre for coming out on a Friday night from his house, Yeah, everybody, golf clap, big golf clap. We got the dogs doing golf claps in the back. That's
Thanks,
awesome.
Thanks, guys. Much
Great.
appreciated.
Andre, from myself, from Carol, all my customers here tonight. No, thank you very much for doing this. Again, you blew us away when you did the tequila class. So, we talked about doing a bourbon class for the Kentucky Derby, but unfortunately, COVID hit. And no, I was happy we were able to.
It's still bourbon month though, so we're in the right month to it. Yeah, so like we're winning on all accounts on that end.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think I can unmute everybody right now before we adjourn. So everybody can unmute yourselves. If you got anything to say, shout it out.
Thank you. Bourbon is my thing.
This was so fun.
Thank you. That was awesome.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah, any feedback for Andre, please call it out now. Again,
Thanks, Andre. Nicely done.
Thanks,
we enjoy.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, we enjoy doing these classes with everybody, and we want to keep doing them. It's fun seeing everybody at home doing this.
Oh, it's empty. It's gone.
Huh?
Yeah. It's kind of glass.
It's all gone. Bottle's out.